Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Energy Speaks Back, powered by B2B Energy. My name is Paul Webb, and I'm the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm your host. Weekly, I present to you energy experts from around the world. Welcome to episode 165. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. Welcome, energy enthusiasts, to another enlightening episode of Energy Speaks Back, where I delve deep into our guests' origin and their knowledge within our industry. Please engage with comments and the poll after this episode. Today I'm thrilled to interview an expert in insulation, whether it be pipe insulation, valve wraps, or even heat exchangers. He's a true expert in his industry, and our guest today provides valuable tips and insights into deploying good quality insulation. So without any further ado, let's wrap up for an insightful interview with Pritesh Mistry from T&M Supplies. Good afternoon, Pritesh. How are you today?
Afternoon, Paul. I'm doing well, thank you. Yes, good.
Brilliant. I'm saying good afternoon, but it's really good evening for us, isn't it? It's just past 6 o'clock. I normally say good evening now. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's a great day today. So yeah, it's a lovely sunny day out there. Yeah.
It's been beautiful, hasn't it? And you're one of the very few guests I've had on here that I've actually met face to face, and we met face to face last week, didn't we, for the first ever time, which was great.
It was a great event and great networking opportunity and great location as well. So it was phenomenal. So yeah, this has really set us up really for this, I think.
It has indeed. We had a good chat then and sort of talked about today, and it's a great pleasure to have you on our podcast today and to have us as part of our network. So thank you very much for that.
I'm honored to be here. It's a great opportunity for us. So yeah.
Brilliant. So as I said, we originally met through LinkedIn, which is the place where we all meet nowadays. And then we have had a face-to-face. But for the benefit of our audience today, could you give us some background to yourself and maybe sort of tell us about your origin story? What brought you into this industry?
Oh, right. So my background is civil engineering. So I'm educated as a civil engineer. I then, rather than move into mainstream design and that type of thing, I was more prone to like meeting people and sort of networking and that type of thing. So, I discovered very quickly that was quite a strong trait of mine. So I moved into essentially sales or engineering sales, so specification type sales. So joined a company that manufactured lightweight aggregate. There I picked up some more skills from a lot of the leadership team, and then moved on to a tools company, Hilti. So I have a strong background in Hilti. There I was working in London, visiting all the big specifiers and all the nice, lovely big projects that were going on at the time. Everything from Wembley Stadium, Arsenal Stadium.
Wow.
So got to see a lot of these Swiss Re. The Shard was probably a twinkle in someone's eye at that point. So there were some great projects, infrastructure projects like Channel Tunnel Rail Link. I got to meet a whole host of contractors and specifiers. So that really set me up in the world of sales and specifications and engineering know-how, as it were. Solving problems is probably the biggest way I would put it. And, it's a knack that I have. So if someone has a problem, I could probably work out a solution, no matter whether it's, even though I'm civil, it could be mechanical, could be electrical, could be however. I then moved on to a company in a leadership aspect where I was managing a European sales team, looking after a sales group selling fixings and fastenings for cables and pipes. So the company was called Erico originally, then they got took over by a bigger company called Pentair, and then now today they're known as Nvent. but essentially they make fixings and fastenings for cables and pipes. And that sort of got me even further into that M&E industry. It sort of channeled me further down. From that point, I then joined a company that were similar to where I am now, which basically manufactured insulation jackets. Something that I'd never really come across, but the concept was so simple. We have lagging for pipes and things like that, but what do we do when we get to the removable parts in terms of valves, flanges, all the connecting parts, as it were. So yeah, that's what sort of led me to where I am today. I've learned a lot from the manufacturer. I work directly for manufacturers, so I learned a lot by seeing a lot in terms of stock control, how things are organized, and that type of thing. So I have a load of other elements that are there within my sort of portfolio that are sort of hidden behind the background, but have really served me well today.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. I like going back. It's my Columbo bit. Let's go back to the bit of the new construction side, because that was a very exciting time, wasn't it? Wembley, Emirates, even the London Stadium was starting to be developed. We had all the Westfield sites. So even in that area, was a significant amount of properties were just coming up out of the ground, weren't they?
It was massive, and there was the run up to the Olympics as well. So you had a lot of that infrastructure being put in place. So Channel Tunnel was one of my biggest ones, because I lived in Grays in Essex, and I was literally site inducted on all the different contracts along the Channel Tunnel rail link. I got to walk the tunnel when they had conveyors in, and the boring machines, and the big box at Stratford. I've seen that in its raw state, literally.
Right.
I remember I had my first company car then as well, and I managed to get stuck in mud at the Channel Tunnel rail box. Literally, they had to get a JCB to lift, almost drag it out the mud. So yeah, but we were there in a engineering capacity because they needed fixings for the conveyors and that along the tunnel as it progressed. But it was a great opportunity to be at the coalface, and then later on down the line you get to see it finish, as it were. So you get to see the stages and see it as what the general public do as well.
Yeah, it's nice to go from the start to finish, isn't it? To actually see a project end and become a completer, and that's really, I'm sure, has helped you in your career to be a finisher, really.
Oh, absolutely. And say in Hilti, I had several hats where I went from being just a simple project engineer doing that type of project to then concentrating on oil and gas. So I was working on global projects like Saudi Cayenne, Pearl GTL, all over Gorgon, Greater Gorgon in Australia. So I got to work with specifiers in the UK that were working on bigger long-term projects in other countries. So that progressed, and then I went on to things like project management, where I was managing my own energy sites, like energy from waste in Runcorn. When that was going, it was like it was a wonderful site, that was, because it was sort of it was one of the biggest during a recession, essentially. So yeah. But yeah, it's so diverse. Every day is different, and it's great.
And let's finish this. I'm using the word finish again. Like finishing a project, it always makes me smile when we talked about this, didn't we, on last week, when we was talking about the lagging. Beautiful lagging will be done in a building on the pipework, all the way up to the valve or the pump, and then stop, and then the whole valve and pump will just be exposed to the environment. And it really does feel as though the job hasn't been finished. It's such a shame. That why are they not thinking about, why aren't they engaging with you guys to finish that job off nicely?
I'm not sure. I think at that stage it's more about the installation and commissioning, making sure it's all up and running correctly and working correctly. I think the installation on those elements have always become a bit of an afterthought, really. Yet the biggest win on any site, I would say.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah,
Because when
definitely.
you get I'm like many energy consultant nowadays. We get our thermographic camera out, and it
Mm.
just creates such a beautiful image, doesn't it, of all the lagging doing its job, but then right in the middle of it, like a whole ball of fire, where you got the heat coming out.
And I think it's one of those. If you showed that image at the end of an install or finished project, and you said to the, I don't know, the M&E contractor, or maybe even the main contractor, look, you're missing something here, or even the client, there's an opportunity to there straight away, really. And
Yeah,
that's the thing, is with a thermal image, it's not hidden then. I think with
yeah,
a normal, when you take a normal picture, it looks normal, it looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, it
yeah,
works. But when you take a thermal image, then you see what the issue is.
yeah.
So yeah.
I remember taking and having the first thermographic camera in my hands. It was in 2005, and this guy said to me, "Whatever you do, don't drop it. It's 35 grand's worth of camera." And I had this big case carrying around with me, and I was shocked what you could do with this camera. This was ultra. I had to sign the Official Secrecies Act, a certificate with the camera to use it, because it was amazing what it wasn't like an X-ray machine, but you could see images. Well, and then nowadays I showed you pictures of mine. I've got a thermographic camera that I've brought through eBay or the Apple shop, £220. Doesn't quite give. We talked about this, didn't we? The temperature areas of what we need to be looking at, but it's a perfect job. And I've gone through three or four of them because I have a habit of, because they're so delicate. I have dropped these ones. Lucky I didn't drop the 35 grand one, but I've dropped these couple of hundred, still couple of £100. But it's such a powerful tool to have in my armory, to do that and take that picture. That one picture tells the whole thing, doesn't it?
And that's the thing. I think that just by doing that, you can see what the effect is by then insulating that same piece of equipment, whether it's one piece of equipment or a whole plant room. You can hone in on the different elements, and most people use these thermal imaging cameras to see where the air leaks and where
Yeah,
there's energy
yeah,
escaping and that type of thing. And it does exactly that. The only thing you don't, because it's usually a plant room's internal, you're losing all that heat in the plant room, which is wasted, really. It should be distributed around the rest of the building, whether it be a school, hospital, or whatever.
yeah.
So,
I remember I can't remember the name of the site, but we put all these valve wraps in there, and they were all complaining that the plant room was now cold. And they had to go blocking all the vents up to stop all the cold air coming in, because we've changed the temperature so much. You know, Gone are the days of the old boiler man sleeping in the plant rooms when it was nice and cozy for him.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing, is the insulation will do both. It will protect it from the cold. It will protect it, from heat as well. So it will do both, really. So even though the plant room is cooler, that means it's doing its job more efficiently as well. So
Yeah.
you'll probably have less maintenance in the long run on some of the equipment.
Mm.
That's one of the things. So yeah.
So we're talking about heating. It can also be used for cooling, can't it? Regarding the lagging on chilled water pipes.
Yeah, absolutely. It does exactly the opposite as well. So you have to put in things like you have to consider vapor barriers and things like that, as you normally would, whether it's like you say, chilled pipes, or whether it's ventilation or that type of thing. But
Mm.
yeah, you can apply jackets in the same way, exactly the same way as an acoustic or a thermal layer. So so
Yeah.
it can do two
So
things.
without putting you too much on the spot, is there any indication of how much energy savings a typical valve mat would actually save?
Yeah, so if you took, I like to use an example of a 6-inch valve in a steam application. Again, it's very typical of an industrial process. Running 8 hours a day, say 150 degrees. you're talking about nearly 10,500 kilowatts of energy that are lost each year,
Right.
just that one valve. So, if you took the average commercial price of gas, you're looking at roughly in the first year, you would save roughly just short of £900 by insulating that valve in the right way.
Yeah.
Uh, then obviously it's compounded year after year from there. So five
Yeah.
years, you're talking nearly £4,500 on one valve in one part of the process. And as there's usually multiple. So yeah,
Yeah. And then how much would the cost of that valve wrap be in the first place?
probably 1/8 of that, really, if that, if not less. It depends on how. What you have to consider is the insulation comes up either side. You want to
Yeah.
make sure you have enough coverage over the insulation either side, to make sure that you don't lose any energy. Also, the thickness of the jacket matters as well.
Yeah.
So the beauty of what we do is it's fully removable as well. So and again, where you tend to get something that leaks, like a valve or a corner fitting or a flange, basically the jacket is protected with silicon essentially. So you have a jacket like this essentially,
Yeah.
which is basically silicon outer, silicon inner, and the insulation in between. But it's protected. It's fully waterproof. So if water got to it, the insulation isn't damaged. You can remove it,
Yeah.
fix the valve, or replace it, and then put the insulation back on again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, what I find it makes the plant room look a lot more tidier when it's all sort of blended in. It does look very good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can see by some of the images that I've got here, you can see how well it sort of blends in. The grey is just the industry norm,
Yeah.
but we can do them in yellow, red, blue, whatever color you want. Really, it's all down to preference. Really,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
get the silicons in the different colors or PVCs even, but grey is the most common. Used to be foil used to be a very popular choice as well. We can do them in foil finishes for
Yeah. Yeah.
customers in foil as well. So yeah, but you're right. It does look more finished, and I think when you do then take that thermal imaging camera back, you can then identify areas where there may be other issues or maybe areas that still need consideration. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We branded some of ours on plant rooms as well to with numbers on to help the people looking at it, maintenance managers, to contact whoever, either to do more lagging or to contact us for energy management. So we used it as a quite a good tool, which you can do then as well with organisations to help them with their energy management process.
No, absolutely. You can put QR codes or barcodes or anything on these jackets. It's all dependent on how much you want to spend, as it were. So we can do labels, we can do QR codes, and that QR code might lead to a drawing or a specification of even the valve, for example. So then you know what that piece of equipment is, or even just like I say, reference back to the drawing. So if you need a replacement, you know where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go to the nth degree with these things. It is really, the sky is the limit, but it's all, like I say, labels that will have your company name on, or what the jacket is, or what the piece of equipment is, even,
Yeah.
or just simple numbering system, tag number, like you say, you know.
Yeah. And what about, this is quite a straightforward technology. There's no moving parts. It does exactly what we're going to expect it to do. But is there any future innovation coming around these? Because it's quite a traditional piece of equipment, basically.
It is, but what you find is things like the insulation that you put inside can vary. So you could have something that is the insulation advances in the way materials are made these days is quite it's continuously changing.
Right.
So you can have ones that can resist high temperatures that are very, very thick, and ones that are very, very thin. So depending on what sort of clearances you've got, but obviously the thinner you go, the more you're probably going to pay for to have that insulation in the jacket. That's what it tends to do. But you can have insulations that are hydrophobic as well within there. So another layer of protection, as it were. So as well as the silicon outer, again, it's all dependent on your specific circumstances. Because as I say, when you talk about hydrophobic infills, you're then looking at things like corrosion under insulation, where you start getting moisture, traversing inside the jacket once water gets in. So hydrophobic insulation just allows the water to wick away, essentially. So, but again, it's more expensive, but yeah, it's an option. You've got lots of high temperature options. You've got different thicknesses, so and I'm sure the technology will continue to evolve as we move through the industry.
Doesn't stand still, does it? The technologies. And then my next question really is that, I see this a lot in the UK buildings, but is this a global product? So would you look to, or could you distribute around the world if anyone needed such an item?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We can service projects globally, or in any location of the country, and it's all down to the level of service that you want. So we can do everything from survey, manufacture and install. So like a full turnkey solution, or we can just do if sometimes we get items sent to us where we're just doing the manufacturing, so, and then they will supply it and they'll install. So we cover all the markets. So we can cover like a contractor, we can cover like an insulation distributor who will have customers that want these items. And again, some companies will buy them, some companies won't. They totally, it's all down to their remit with any one project. If you make someone responsible for it, then it will get done, and the results will be
Interestingly, when we spoke last week, we was talking about a heat exchanger that I was standing next to, and I posted it on LinkedIn, and I didn't notice at the time, but they have nameplates and details on and serial numbers, which you could then take that details and manufacture a particular insulation pack for that. So we wouldn't even need you to go to site. We could just give you them details. Don't even need to give you measurements, because you would then go and find those measurements, and we could just order it online.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of manufacturers, if you know what the manufacturer of the valve is and the size, we can usually Google it, and you can get the dimensions straight off. So obviously 6-inch valve is 6-inch valve and 4-inch valve, but like you say, heat exchangers, pumps, even skids, for example, they have serial plate names or serial plate numbers, and we can request that from the manufacturer to then be able to get overall dimensions to then build a bespoke jacket for that item. So
and you don't just do the valve wraps, the pump wraps, the heat exchangers. You do the whole complete plant rooms if required, don't you? I know some of the pictures you've got there cover the whole of the plant rooms. And again, would that be variation of different products that you would explore?
Well, what we would do if the pipes, if we were talking about lagging of pipes as well, we would normally partner with an insulation contractor.
Right.
They would do the piping, and then they would source the jackets through us. So it's as simple as that. But we work in partnership with a few contractors that can provide that complete service if that's what's required. Some people we would just advise getting the pipes insulated if they want. We could recommend a few people, or we could, like you say, provide a full turnkey solution where we recommend a contractor to do it as well. So yeah,
I've done a job in Barcelona once and turned up the site, and all the pipe work was all like this bright green color. When I touched it, it was already insulated. The pipe comes with an insulation on it already. And when I asked the owner of the property, he said, yes, it was very, very expensive. And I can imagine all this pipe. And when I looked at the plant room, it looked amazing. It was all bright green. However, they hadn't done all the valves, all the pumps and things like that. So we had to go back and put all these valve wraps on.
that's right. Yeah, so
So you can get the pipe work already, which is quite bizarre nowadays, really, to see that.
some companies do supply it already insulated, and some of the OEMs that we work with actually, like I say, will provide a jacket or a cover with their a piece of equipment as an option.
Yeah.
So we've recommended to a lot of OEMs when you're pricing for the say, I don't know, it could be a dosing pot or a filter, then price the jacket with it, because it's a yes or a no, and it's one of those where it's an upsell for the OEM or the valve manufacturer, and it's an upsell for themselves as well. So yeah, it's a win-win.
Would you, as an organisation, ever consider working with these um, valve manufacturers regarding providing a buy one get one free type approach regarding you get the installation with it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do that with a few
Right.
OEM companies. So we already work with a few. So so some of the companies that make valves and flanges and that type of thing, they buy, or distributors even that
Yeah.
distribute. Yeah, you get a lot of these manufacturers work directly with distribution networks. So they have the inquiries and it's an easy upsell. It's like I say, if you're going to buy 10 flanges, why not buy 10 flange covers?
Yeah.
It's it's as simple as that.
One of the questions I normally ask on the interviews, what are your challenges? Do you have challenges within your industry with organizations? What you're trying to do with them?
Sometimes, yeah. Usually, companies that come to us, they know what the benefits are, but there are a lot of companies out there that don't understand the benefits and don't see the benefits, or it doesn't really fall within their remit. So it's more of an education for us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we try and provide it a very consultative approach where we say, look, this it's an easy win. Energy prices are very, very high, and this could be a saving that you can promote to your client, in a lot of
Mm.
cases. So it's simple,
Yeah.
and it could be from any industry, like say schools, the water industry, office blocks, hospitals. It's the list is endless.
Yeah. And do you
Yeah.
have a team behind you working on this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have two sites actually. One in Devon, that was established over 40 years ago.
Right.
And the site where we have in Manchester was only established last year, and we've pretty much outgrown it already. So yeah, it's phenomenal what we've done, and I think we always had it at the back of mind it would be successful,
Yeah.
but we've proven it to be successful. And a lot of customers that we have today are very long-standing customers. So
Right.
the owner, Tom White, who established the business back all those years back then, has a massive network of people that he knows, and people he's
Mm.
very well respected within the industry as well. So last month we joined the trade association TICA, the Insulation Contractors Association. So we're getting involved more and more with basically educating the industry and making people aware of what we do.
Yeah. I think it's a given. When you're walking around these plant rooms, you can feel the temperature, you can see it. Just sometimes when I take people around to do training, to do an energy assessment, I say, look, be careful. Do not always like feel the temperature with the back of my hand rather than grabbing things or whatever, but just feel that temperature just coming off slightly. It's amazing how much temperature. And I say, feel that temperature? That should be going into the building, not into this area. What you're seeing here is all radiators, with you're heating the wrong area. We need to be heating either the water or them rooms or the space areas in the buildings.
Well, that's
To
the
waste
thing.
the heat.
That your boiler is working overtime just to heat a space which isn't
Yeah,
occupied.
doesn't need to be.
It's like I say, just that one is an easy win. But
Yeah,
as I
and I know
say,
it's significant payback, isn't it? It'll pay well within between 3 and 6 months. Some cases could be that quick, and why not do that?
exactly that. So it's one of those where we can educate building owners, we can educate clients that basically this is a quick win, it's low hanging fruit, and that's what the way we see it, and
Mm.
yeah, it really
So
is.
I'm going to let you into a secret here. Well, and it's not much of a secret because I'm telling the world now, but I've been looking for a British around the world, yeah, for this conversation because it's such a given to go and do. There's not many organizations out there doing it. You're quite niche, unique, and there's no one like yourself out there willing to tell people about it. It used to be quite a hard one to go and I go around the plant rooms and identify, oh, you need to put this, and then I find ages to find someone to come forward who wants to share and talk to the story about it.
Well, I think the people that obviously come to us, they know what the advantages are and they see it. But like you say, there's a whole wealth of people out there that don't see it.
Yeah,
And what I've seen from this group and the B2B Energy Network was you've got a whole group of people willing to educate everyone about what there is and how to solve it. So it's not just about showing them a problem, but it's actually bringing them a solution.
yeah,
That for me is everything. It's like,
100%.
don't bring me a problem,
Yeah,
bring me a solution.
yeah. Only dealing solutions. That's what we've got to be doing is dealing with the solution all the time. And then the solution will find your problems. Well, here's your problem. Here's a solution that's going to fix your problem. Well, I didn't know I had the problem in the first place. There's
Well,
a
that's
problem
it.
there. Yeah, yeah,
And some problems are easy. Some problems need a bit of research and a bit of knowledge.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah, I'm trying to educate people that this is simple. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's come to this time, British, that where we are in the interview, we're around about 30 odd minutes. And I did say to you that I'm going to put you on the spot. I have been putting you on the spot all the way. And thank you for joining us today. But is there anything you can give back to the industry as a takeaway to help all these energy experts that are going to listen to this podcast today?
Well, for me, a plant room, for example, is the simplest win. It is low hanging fruit, and you'll see an immediate return.
Yeah,
Essentially, as soon as you insulate those valves and piece of equipment in that plant room, the temperature drops. That heat is then being distributed in the right parts of the building.
yeah,
So you'll be saving your client instantly in terms of energy cost.
yeah,
So and that's what they want. It's a bit like solar. They want that instant turn it on. Let's
yeah,
see the benefit. And you know thermal insulation covers will do that for you.
yeah. And as you say, it's fast, no moving parts. The guarantees are quite high because it's going to be, automatically saving. I was going to say, and I'm sure this is a long period of time, but is there any like life cycle um, data regarding how long these mats will last? Because there must be 30 years, maybe.
It probably is very, very high because the insulation is encapsulated within the cloth.
Yeah,
So actually nothing can get to it to deteriorate. As we know, it's glass fibers as well. So really it's fully protected.
yeah,
Even from the elements, we do slightly higher grade cloth for outside. But again, it's protected, providing it doesn't get torn or ripped or anything like that, and the external integrity survives, then
yeah.
it should be fine. And
My,
you often see these on wastewater treatment plants as perfect examples.
yeah.
So
So it's pretty much forever. Even I've given a date of 30 years, maybe, but it's more, you know, well, a lot, further past our lifespan as such, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like anything. You look after it, it will, it will
Exactly.
look after it. It's one of those things. It's not yeah, you treat
The
it.
biggest problem I have, and I have found, is people take them off to do the maintenance and then don't put them back. I went into a plant room recently and I said, "Oh, you haven't got no valve wraps." "Oh, yes, we have." "Oh, where are they?" "Oh," and then the guy gets them out from under the back and puts them on. But that's the only time I've actually seen that. But just understanding your plant room, understanding that everything has a place to it to keep it nice and tidy.
Well, and some plant rooms were done in a traditional way with metal boxes and stuff, and those metal boxes
They're the ones. Yeah,
they tend to be a bit more complicated.
yeah,
So you then have to have a specialist contractor to come in. With ours, you don't have to be a specialist contractor. It is easy. It's Velcro fixings, tied string pulls on the side, and it's simple. And we're quite happily train plant maintenance people or contractors on how to measure jackets, how to install them, it will serve you well once you have something like that. Yeah.
Well, Pritesh, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today. I know we had a long period of time regarding booking this, but I'm really pleased that we've had this opportunity. It's amazing meeting you last week, which helps today, obviously. But the topic we've got here is so fast in recovering the waste, and I think it's quite a key element to what we do as energy experts.
Oh, no, absolutely, and it's been an honour to be able to do this and and meet you and do the podcast as well. So yeah, it's this energy network is such a great thing. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your support. And lastly, Pritesh, you and your family stay safe in these times.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you to my guest for joining me today on Energy Speaks Back. I'm very proud and humbled to have the opportunity to interview energy experts from around the world, and I hope you found today's episode of value. Don't forget to listen to the previous episodes because they are full of insights to help you make a real impact on energy efficiency. And remember, tiny changes that we make today can bring us profound savings in the future. Together, we can drive change and make a difference. That leaves me with one more thing to say. Please, you and your family, be safe in these times.